So when we set out to do this project, we hypothesized that there was something we called the Adirondack Gene. I think we already talked about it a little bit. It's kind of that indescribable something that makes this place magical for some people and a little less so for others who maybe won't come back. So to understand what it is they get, those people who like it here, we talked to everyone from millennial farmers and entrepreneurs to people who moved here, to people who represent the area's interests. We then talked to the millennials that we spoke with in focus groups and quantitative survey to figure out what's that overlap. The people who haven't been here, attitudinally, beliefs-wise, things like that. And we think we have found the overlap. It comes directly from the research. And so there's something I think that's important to note, that as we find this overlap and as we tell you about it, it's about making who we are into a story that millennials will understand and hear. This is not about rebranding the Adirondacks. I think that a good branding for the Adirondacks would be, we are the Adirondacks. I don't think that we need to change who we are. I think probably there are tactics that can help us better communicate and better help this story, but I don't want anybody to get confused to think that I came in from out of town to tell you what you should be. So I think that this is more about telling you how to tell a story that activates that gene with millennials. So in terms of this gene, is it possible for a destination to even activate a gene? Here is an example from California. That's Lake Tahoe, not too terribly far from San Francisco in Northern California. So this is a professional skateboarder named Bob Burnquist, who skated everywhere on everything. And he was commissioned to build a skateboard ramp on water. He says that dreaming big is what he does every day. This took 300 man-hours, 1,250 screws, and 7,300 pounds of wood and metal. And his dream surfaced over the crystal blue waters of Lake Tahoe. Without looking for this, I found it during this project, and I found it on a website called wherecoolthingshappen.com, which I'm not exactly sure how I ended up on a site called that. But I want to talk about what something like that does. The experience became content in and of itself, which became marketing. It was picked up in press, and a video about it on YouTube has garnered over 3 million views as of the time of writing. And a lot of the press coverage is coming from places you wouldn't expect. This isn't Condé Nast Traveler. These are places that millennials read. Complex Magazine, YouTube, Daily Mail. Some of them are super trendy, and the message got out on social media. And what was interesting is when I saw this, I thought this might be an interesting example to bring to this presentation. And what I did not realize is it's a tourist board that has put this entire thing together, and it's the state of California. And it's their Dream Big campaign. That's their positioning. Their organizing principles Dream Big, and they reinforce it by subsidizing programs like this one. They funded the skateboard ramp. They created something called Dream 365 to celebrate things like that happening in California. Not the canoeing or the photographs of nature, but experiences like an underground garden in Fresno. You can think about this from a millennial standpoint, like the types of things people would want to Instagram. An artist creating human-sized nests at Big Sur. Obviously, as a state the size of, or bigger than many countries, they have a bigger budget, but it is worth noting that the ads that they create contain the real payload, which is the content about unique people and experiences tied together by this organizing theme, Dream Big. So that's the gene they've identified. They want people to identify with them. And so, yeah, that's what I was supposed to be saying in this slide. Let's go to this slide. So when you have a story and you tell a story, it gives people something to say about you. And there's sort of a reverse risk of when you don't really have a story, which the Adirondacks currently doesn't really have sort of like a clear public story that everybody knows. BuzzFeed is one of the most popular websites with millennials, websites and apps and whatever. Who here uses BuzzFeed or knows what it is? It's pretty silly, but a lot of people do read it, and it is influential. So I did a search for Adirondacks, and this was what came up. 22 overwhelmingly beautiful photos of the Adirondacks, which sounds great. It is true. We are undeniably and unbelievably beautiful. But it was all nature pictures. And we've talked about nature and outdoors and the missed opportunity to elevate the full scope of our offering and all the other things like adventure and the undiscovered. And there's not a single millennial in any one of these photos. And we didn't write this, but we didn't give people the story to understand that there's more to us than being a series of still lives for, just sort of a human interest piece or a tourism piece. So obviously this could have been much worse. This is complimentary, and the photos are beautiful, but it could have been a lot better in terms of having a story that moved the needle with millennials. So where might that story for us come from? Visit California's example of how everything from communications to experience programming can flow from a central story, like Dream Big. So that fits them. What fits us? Forever Wild is the closest thing to a governing principle that we have from this kind of communications or storytelling standpoint. It's our heritage and is part of a protected area in the largest state park in the 48, in the lower 48. This continues to make a lot of sense. So we're not going to suggest changing who we are, but like I said, we do have a vision for what the core story that we need to tell millennials is, so that we can translate what Forever Wild might mean to them in a way that's more relevant to them and what it means to their lives, so that they hear us and understand us, and hopefully so that we can move them. So to sum up what the Adirondack Gene is, just want to go back to I want to present some evidence like a lawyer. These are some of the things we've gone through from the data we learned from our research. Millennials are on a journey. There's the trip itself, literally the trip here, or the trip wherever they're going. And they're also at a point where in life it's about self-development. Where are they going in life? What do they want to be? How are the experiences they're having actually defining the direction they're going? They seek a rewarding life. So experiences above all. We talked about the importance of experiences and how those give them stories to tell, which give them in turn social currency, which is super important to them. The idea of learning, which we learned was really important in terms of what helps them identify a destination as unique. Choosing unique and authentic takes courage. So this is based on the social pressure idea. It's like social pressure is one of the main things keeping people from suggesting us to their friends. And how do we empower those influencers? And a lot of that is about independent thinking and about challenging oneself. And deep down there's this yearning to explore. Adventure, culture, the undiscovered. And so we think that the theme of the story is, and how one translation of Forever Wild could work in a way that resonates with millennials, is to acknowledge that journey, to acknowledge the rewards that they're seeking in life, to acknowledge that choosing between unique and authentic takes courage, and that understanding deep down that need to explore is intrinsic, all of which wraps up into one central thought, which is that the journey rewards those who choose unbeaten paths. And I believe that's what we can say about the Adirondacks. California can say dream big because it's the biggest state. What we offer is different. We offer the unique rewards that come from having true areas that are less discovered than others. And this is something that's starting. The Wild Center the Wild Center made a big bet on a unique experience. This is about an experience, and it's paid off in a lot of ways, from increased attendance to PR, to seeing upticks in social media and search engine results. And the Wild Center started this initiative long before having access to the data in this report, but hopefully you can see some of the resonance between the thinking behind this and what we've just gone over today. It fits a lot of what we've been talking about. With the Wild Walk, you can learn things. It's an experience that's unique. Probably a lot of your friends haven't done it. You can take a picture of your kids in the nest and send it out on your Instagram or Facebook, or send it to your parents. And overall, the location's a little bit off the beaten path, and that gives you a story to tell. So this is a way of saying that this is something that we're starting, and there's commitment to. but we can all tell this story. So every implication in this presentation has a potential next step for us to follow. And no matter what our roles, budgets, or ways of communicating are, we can all help tell the story millennials are going to hear from us using whatever tools we have by sticking to these principles. The idea that there's a journey that millennials are on, that could be a trip, that could be their self-development, that could be their life. That they seek rewards, these are the unique experiences, stories and learning that they want. That to think for and challenge oneself, to take the road less traveled is a choice that involves some courage. Unbeaten paths, I split up. There's a little distinction here. That unbeaten means adventure, culture, and the undiscovered, and paths means forever wild, but not without some paths to choose from. Just to show that there are opportunities to choose your own, but we're not dropping you off in the middle of a forest. You know, we're not, in that big map of all the words, the people who said bears, we just want to shut that down a little bit and make that happen. And that's it. Thank you very much.